very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on our television. I'm Ashing Vera Singha. Let's have a look at the headlines first. Central Bank suspends business activities of ETI and Swarnamahal Financial Services. Repatriation process of Sri Lankans temporarily halted from tomorrow. News in detail. The Central Bank announced that its Monetary Board has decided to suspend the business activities of ETI Finance Limited and Swarnamahal Financial Services effective from today. Accordingly, ETI Finance and Swarnamahal Financial Services have become insolvent due to various irregularities taken place since 2011. Due to the inability of Board of Directors and senior management of the respective companies to satisfactorily address the said deficiencies, the Monetary Board on 2nd January 2018 issued directions restricting the affairs of the companies and the powers of the Board of Directors of the two companies. During the subsequent period, both companies were able to repay 30% of the deposits outstanding of each company through various measures, but due to the inability to revive the companies successfully, the financial situation of both companies continued to deteriorate. With the suspension of business of ETI and Swarnamahal Financial Services, the CBSL has taken necessary actions to pay compensation to the insured depositors under the applicable laws and regulations, which would facilitate to settle 75% of the ETIF's total depositors in full, while each of the remaining 25% depositors will also receive 600,000 rupees as a part of their deposit amount. Moreover, 89% of the Swarnamahal Financial Services total depositors will be paid the compensation in full, while each of the remaining 11% depositors will also receive 600,000 rupees as a part of their deposit amount. Further, the CBSL has decided to issue notices of suspension of certificate of registration of ETIF and SFSP as registered finance leasing establishments with effect from today. National Election Commission today announces that they will closely monitor the situation after the discovery of a fresh bout of COVID-19 patients in the country, although they have already commenced the postal voting for the general election 2020. Commission Chairman Mahinda Deshapriya said that he has already arranged a meeting with his officials on this Wednesday to receive the first-hand information. Postal voting of the general election 2020 kicked off this morning with the staff members of medical officers of health casting their absentee votes. The voters have been mandated to ensure compliance with the health guidelines such as maintaining social distance, wearing face masks and disinfecting hands introduced by the government in view of arresting the spread of the novel coronavirus. In addition, they have been instructed to bring a blue or black ink pen to mark the ballot paper. Marking postal votes for the general election 2020 will go ahead on weekdays until the 21st of this month. The public sector officials will cast their absentee votes tomorrow and day after. A total of 705,085 public servants are eligible to cast their postal votes for the upcoming parliamentary election. However, the Anuradhapura district election authorities had decided to postpone postal voting in the Rajangania Divisional Secretariat area until further notice. In the meantime, the Election Commission has also faced a practical problem in conducting postal voting for those deployed for duty at quarantine centres in the Polonnaruwa district following the latest outbreak of corona cases. The number of COVID-19 cases identified in the country has surpassed 2,600 as the positive cases of the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre cluster has risen. In the meantime, more than 2,250 PCR tests have been conducted yesterday, making it the highest number of PCR tests carried out within a day. A total of 106 persons have contracted novel coronavirus yesterday, making the total COVID-19 infections detected in Sri Lanka as 2,617 as of late yesterday. Thus, 2 residents from Rajangania area in Anuradhapura who had been in close contact with a virus-inflicted inmate at the rehabilitation centre in Kandakadu, 2 arrivals from Bangladesh, 1 returnee from the United Arab Emirates, 5 arrivals from Belarus, 2 sailors who arrived from Iran, 76 inmates who were transferred from Senapura Rehabilitation Centre from the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre, 14 associates of virus-positive inmates of the rehabilitation centre and 4 other from Rajangania area tested positive for the virus yesterday. Moreover, 625 active cases are reported in the country, along with 1,981 recovered and discharged as of 2 p.m. today. Further, another batch of 14 persons who are close contacts of inmates within the Kandakadu Rehabilitation Centre was identified as positive for the coronavirus this evening. Furthermore, 2,251 PCR tests have been carried out yesterday, and that's the highest number of PCR tests identified within the country. Subsequently, the Central Bank of Sri Lanka has approved 22,306 loans amounting to 60,250 million rupees under the Saubhagya COVID-19 Renaissance Facility as of last Friday, with the approval given for 2,066 new loans amounting to 6,978 million rupees during the week ended last Friday. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Minister of Tourism and Aviation Prasanna Ranatunga states that the reopening of the Bandaranaike International Airport will be postponed further from previously planned mid-August. In the meantime, Additional Secretary to the President for Foreign Relations, Admiral Professor Joynath Kolumbage states that given the COVID-19 cluster that arose at the Treatment and Rehabilitation Centre in Kandakadu, the government has decided to temporarily halt the repatriation operation from tomorrow. Tourism Ministry earlier noted that the Bandaranaike International Airport will not be reopened on 1st of August as previously planned, and that it would be reopened in mid-August. Nevertheless, Tourism and Aviation Minister Prasanna Ranatunga states that the reopening of the Bandaranaike International Airport will be postponed further from previously planned mid-August. Minister added that considering the recent uptrend with the new COVID-19 infected clusters found within the country, it is difficult to give a timeline for the reopening of the airport. Minister also noted that the highest priority of the government is to control the spread of COVID-19 and to fast-track repatriating Sri Lankans still stranded in various parts of the world. Subsequently, Minister Ranatunga added that the temporary suspension of the repatriation process will take effect from tomorrow. Subject Minister Ranatunga pointed out that the repatriation process was temporarily halted due to the shortage of capacity available at quarantine centres in the country, and that the repatriation process will be resumed soon. He further added that so far nearly 15,000 stranded Sri Lankans from 65 countries have returned and more were expected to return. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority announces that it has plans to set up its branches in regional level, extending its services to the targeted audiences. Tourism Development Authority Chief is in the view of that having a branch in every province will benefit the tourists and at the same time will increase the income for the country. Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority Chief Kimali Fernando notes that the SLTDA is aiming to improve its services by centralizing the operation with the close interaction with all provinces. Kimali Fernando further added that while the SLTDA is on the lookout for suitable locations across the country for the setting up of the branches, local authorities of 3 provinces have already provided the sites to establish the same. Fernando explained that work on setting up the branches will be started after the forthcoming parliamentary elections, since the transfer of staff is fast-tracking the establishment of service centres cannot be facilitated before the election. Fernando shared that the setting up of centres across the country will serve as a centre of assistance for any tourist, uplift the tourist infrastructure in the province, and will support businesses engaged in tourism activities. Fernando pointed out that only 2,500 businesses are registered under the SLTDA at the moment, and that nearly 22,500 businesses continue to operate in the informal space, and that the informal sector would be highly benefited by this initiative. Moreover, SLTDA had highlighted that all accommodations, restaurants and entities engaged in facilitating tourists are required to be COVID-19 certified by the Ministry of Health and would require the businesses to be registered with the SLTDA. Central Bank announces that Sri Lanka has received nearly 87 million US dollars into special deposit accounts so far. In the meantime, the amount of foreign currency that can be retained by a person in or resident in Sri Lanka in his or her possession has been increased from 10,000 US dollars to 15,000 US dollars with effect from 1st July this year. The government of Sri Lanka introduced a special deposit account on 8th of April this year to seek assistance for the national effort to overcome the effects of COVID-19 outbreak in the country. CBSL states that there is a favorable response on that initiative and that Sri Lanka has received 87 million US dollars into SDAS so far. The government of Sri Lanka, in consultation with the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, has taken further measures to encourage opening of SDAs. Thus, any person who has arrived in Sri Lanka from overseas on or after 1st of January this year can open SDAs with any authorized dealer on or before 7th of October this year out of foreign exchange legitimately acquired and brought into Sri Lanka. In this regard, the amount of foreign currency that can be retained by a person in or resident in Sri Lanka in his or her possession has been increased from 10,000 US dollars to 15,000 US dollars with effect from 1st July this year. We'll be back with stock updates after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Regular trading at the Colombo Stock Exchange was temporarily halted for 30 minutes this morning as S&P SL 20 index dropped by 5% during the trading session. Thus, the overall trading at Colombo Stock Exchange ended on a negative note today. The all-share price index dropped 112.86 points to close at 4,879.76 and the S&P SL 20 dropped 68.09 points to close at 2,072.1. The turnover was 1.3 billion rupees and over 49 million shares were traded. Up next are forex rates. And that's all the news for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the same time. Until then, take care. Good night.